You're listening to Don't Take This Personally,
a podcast about the business of creativity.
We are your hosts, wedding photographers, entrepreneurs, and friends, Cami Oliveria
And Gabe Conover. Now let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And don't take it personally, whatever we're about to say.
Yes.
Don't. Do not take this personally. Music.
There we go.
Music. It's happening right now.
Hello.
Oh, I thought that.
That's going in. Hello,
You were like
everyone.
live time recording the intro, and I was like, that's different than when I listened to it this morning. Can you imagine it's just this janky ass intro?
Honestly, I am tempted to change it to that.
Of us just trying to like bop along to the song in our heads every time.
Oh my God, we have to do
That's
that.
a really good idea.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, just so you know, hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Maybe our little theme song will be changing from
Maybe.
now on.
I don't know.
You're leveling up big time right
Yeah,
now.
leveling up totally.
Dying. This is amazing.
Oh my God.
Well, this has been probably the best intro we've had so far.
The most spicy.
Most
that's for
spicy
sure.
and interesting.
Okay. I am so excited for today's episode. Probably
Me
the most I've been
too.
excited for so long, because I feel like the guests are always like Gabe's brainchild. But this one I was like, I have to get Jess on here. Because our guest today is, I don't even know how to describe what she is. She was my VA in
We should have
2020.
asked you that before we
Oh
started.
yeah, I don't even know how to introduce you, but we have
Me either.
we have Jess Hawks here, who Jessica Hawks was my
Dopest name ever.
I know, my virtual assistant back in 2020. She helped me like launch my presets and stuff. And then what's so interesting is I feel like I had such a funny little slice of life with you, because as you were my VA is when a lot happened for you. Like that's when you were blowing up, and I was like watching it happen in real time as one of your clients. So that was really exciting and cool. And now you are like the VA of all VAs. You are like the VA mother. You are the VA God. I feel like you fucking started the online business movement, and you've been empowering thousands, tens of thousands. I don't know. You tell us. All over the
We'll say
world.
millions.
And so
Billions.
billions.
Almost 7
lying-
billion people in
lying
the
about
world
all
are
of it.
inspired by you.
And so you've just had a really fascinating couple years, if I had to guess. So I'm so excited to just tell everyone a bit about your story and what you do and your business and what you've been up to. So Jessica Hawks, you introduce yourself.
Yeah, give us a little elevator pitch.
What do you do and
Oh my
who
God.
are you?
I literally, every time someone asks me like what I do in person, I'm like, marketing. Just like,
MLM.
I run like a lot of MLMs, so and a lot of scams too.
Yeah.
Interesting. What kind of car do you drive?
Oh my God, a pink Mary Kay card.
Exactly.
I love it.
Oh, well, yes, a lot of people on TikTok think I'm in an MLM or a scam, but I'm not. So like Cami said, I used to be a virtual assistant. I started my business in March of 2020. So we are in the second year this month, which is really crazy. I started working with wedding creatives. Before that, I was working in a medical office. I had kind of been really lost. I mean, I don't know how far we want to go back here, but
As far back as you want.
Okay, but I'm like, so I was born.
Where were you? What time were you
And
born?
suddenly I was alive.
It was crazy. So I was born in North Carolina, and I grew up in a really small town. None of my family had really gone to college. My parents own their own business, but I was never like, some parents are like, oh, you're going to get into the business or whatever. That was really never a thing for me. I was never really like pushed in either direction, which was kind of nice in a sense that I wasn't pushed to go to college, but I also was just like very lost. And I had a really difficult childhood growing up with my mom. My mom dealt with a lot of personal issues. And so my parents separated when I was 11. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 15. I moved in with my brother.
Wow.
And then my parents got divorced at 16. So pretty much during that whole time, I really couldn't focus on anything else besides just what was happening in my family. So then whenever I was 16, I started working full time. So I worked at Plato's Closet.
Dig. Okay.
I wanted that.
You're ahead of your time.
I wanted that job so bad when I was in high school. That's so funny you say that. I like that. I remember that was like the cool place to work.
I know. I feel like so many people have like either worked there or wanted to work there, but like, I'm not even gonna lie, it really sucked. I was like the shift
I also
manager.
believe that.
Yeah, it's rough. I was the shift manager. Like I was there by myself dealing with all this cash, and I was making like $8 an hour. And I was like, this is really good. Like this is good money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so then I was kind of hopping around doing different things. I was doing dog walking. I worked at a coffee shop, whatever. Fast forward to when I was 19, I moved to South Carolina, just kind of get away and start fresh.
From where? Where did you grow up?
North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
North Carolina. So it wasn't like I was going
just Hobbs,
crazy.
Carolina.
Just Hobbs, Carolina.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like the slightly different version of North Carolina.
It's like North Carolina, but south.
I really got away, you know?
I made like this huge transition in my life. I moved 3 hours away. I honestly was like, I need to get out of North Carolina, even if it's moving to freaking South Carolina. So I moved here. I started working at a chiropractic office, and I really liked it. I had like my bosses, I really loved them. I learned a lot working there, but obviously I was making, not great money. It's not cheap to live here, and I was living by myself. So I was struggling to pay my bills, struggling to, I would see my friends traveling, and I would always either have to leave early or I couldn't go or, whatever it was.
Were you still living with your brother at the time?
No, I was living by myself here.
Okay.
Yeah. My brother's 20 years older than me. So he.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. So he has like 3 kids. They are like set in North Carolina. So yeah, I moved here by myself. And I knew some people here. I like had some friends here. And once I moved here, I really like established a really good friend group, which I hadn't really had before, but I was struggling with career-wise and financially. I was also, because of all that was happening, and because, I'm sure you guys understand this, but working, 50 hours a week while also trying to deal with mental health and, like unpacking things you dealt with as a child, it's really difficult to do both. So you usually just end up pushing all of that down, which is what I was doing. Course. So I was just like super like, I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't myself. I felt like I had no time to myself. I was going in and out of depression. I was just dealing with a lot at the time. And so I ended up making a friend who is actually, we're still friends, but she was a VA at the time for Wedding Creatives as well. And this was in 2019. And I was just like shocked by what she did. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around it, but I was like, this makes so much sense. This is exactly what I want to do. But obviously I had no idea how to get to that point. So I signed up, I flip-flopped on it. I tried to do it on my own, couldn't do it. So I ended up signing up for a program that started in the spring of 2020. That's when I started my business, and it just ended up really taking off. I think a lot of that was because of my mindset, because I was so committed to it at that point, but it ended up taking off. I worked with Wedding Creatives. I worked with Cami, and I ended up loving the clients that I was working with and kind of really finding my specialty, I guess, in the creative field. And at the time, there weren't a lot of people teaching other people how to start businesses as service providers for the creative field. It was mostly, VAs for coaches and real estate agents and things like that. So I started making TikTok videos in August, and this was obviously during the pandemic. So people were like all over TikTok. I feel like it was the beginning stages of it. It was like YouTube era 2009 or something. But it ended up taking off. And I think that's because the message resonated with people so well of, oh, I don't have to go to college. I dropped out of college. So it was, I think, a story that really resonated with a lot of people. And so I officially started my group program in September, teaching people how to start their business, Digital Creatives Academy. And now we are about to go into the 7th round of it. So Amazing. It's done really well. And around that same time, Cami was kind of talking about how when we were working together, it was like right when that started to blow up. And I really wanted to like desperately hold on to my VA clients, but it just got to the point where it was so impossible to try to do both. I knew that I would be letting I would be sacrificing quality on one side or the other. So I decided to just kind of go full force with teaching, and I love it.
Well, and teaching is so much more scalable. So like, I remember when you like broke it to me, like, oh, I know I was take on sad. Clients anymore. You know, I have to like move on from this. As a business owner, I was like, duh, like I'm watching what's happening for you. And it's so much like the direction your business was going, like is so much more scalable. And, you know, you could just reach so much more people. So yeah, to me, it was like a no brainer. I was like, I knew this was coming. Oh,
I know. It really feels like a breakup though. I was like, because at that point I really was only working with clients that I like loved working with. So I was just like, and I had to like practically let them all down at once. So I was just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm getting divorced.
Oh, yeah, to like a bunch of people. So you're saying that you started the business in March and then by September of
this all happened in the same year.
So that's September of 2020
so
was when you were like, no more.
It was crazy.
Within like 6 months.
Yeah, I think I transitioned all my clients. I think I kind of held on till maybe like October or like mid-October, but it was difficult and it may not have even been that long. But yeah, it all happened in 2020. And so by the end of 2020, I was completely full-time with coaching. I was doing a masterclass live with one of my friends, Erin, and I was doing Digital Creatives Academy, which is a 10-week program. So we were in kind of the first like beta round of that. And it's grown, everything has grown so much since then. And we've, you know, launched a Pinterest course and a podcast and all kinds of things. So it's really crazy how much you can grow, because that 6 to 8 months felt like years to me because so much was happening. Yeah,
for sure. And before we get into like all of our business questions, you were married at the time?
I was, yeah. So once I kind of found out about the VA world, my program that I signed up for started in April of 2020.
Okay.
And I was moving in March of 2020. I was moving to New Jersey because I was, you know, in a relationship. And so that was kind of that like crossroads for me of, okay, well, I need to make a decision because I'm either going to, you know, move there and get a full-time job, which I ended up getting a part-time job because I hate moving somewhere without knowing I have something to, you know, somewhere to work at. So I ended up getting a part-time job while I was building up my business, but that was kind of like the fork in the road for me. But that was very quick. Like that relationship kind of, you know, happened. I mean, it was very fast. We met in October or started talking in October of 2019. Then by, I think March, we were engaged, and then May we were married.
Wow.
So it was wild, while kind of starting my business.
And when did it end? In that time.
June. No, it ended in, let's see, November of that year.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So within a year of meeting, you were married and separated. Okay. Is there anything you're comfortable saying in terms of like, did it end because of like what was happening with your business and like, or was it just like not right? And you like anything you feel comfortable sharing around that? I'm so curious. And I bet everyone listening is too.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's funny because I actually had a panic attack the day of our wedding, which is usually not a good sign.
Yeah.
I was like bawling all day to my dad, to like him, to his sister, to everyone. And my dad was like, oh God, like, and afterwards he was like, I knew I should have like pulled you aside and really talked to you. But you know how it is. Like in those moments, you just do what you think is right.
Right.
You feel the pressure of like, oh, this is planned already and people are here. And it was like an elopement because COVID was happening anyway. But it's still like, I knew, but I felt very much so like, okay, it's happening. So I'm just going to hope this works out, which don't do that usually with marriages.
Yeah.
But and it was tough too, because he was really nice. Like there was nothing inherently wrong. He wasn't, mean to me. There wasn't any of these like huge problems, but we were such different people. And that can be a good
Sounds
thing.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that's
it can be great, but that doesn't mean it's like it forever. And that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think something that I learned, from that relationship, which I think that it happened for a reason. I think it was a very good learning experience for me. But I think something that I learned through that experience was that I kind of before that thought, okay, the person that I'm with, we need to be like, because him and I agreed on a lot of like, our beliefs and our values and things like that, which are important. But I was very much so of the mindset of, okay, well, even if I'm with someone and I am like super attracted to them and I think they're so funny and there's that like spark, if we don't agree on everything, then we aren't meant to be. And so I thought, okay, well, this person, I agree with him on a lot of stuff, but I knew that that spark wasn't there. I just thought that agreeing with him on a lot of things was enough. And I learned through that relationship that it's not. Like, you can disagree with your partner on different things. Obviously, like, it's important to have the big stuff you agree on, but I learned really that my perspective of what a perfect relationship was not it at all. My perspective was very off. And so that relationship taught me that, which I'm thankful for.
Totally.
And, throughout the business growing, I think that was probably a very difficult time. I think it was very hard, and I can understand that. I think it can be very hard from someone else's perspective or from your partner's perspective to see your life changing and your partner changing and your finances changing. And you're like, oh, I'm like, it's almost that sense of like, how do I keep up if you aren't the type of person who's like, that's fine, go ahead. And so, I don't think that definitely wasn't the like demise of our relationship. There were more inherent issues with it.
Yeah.
And I felt those the whole time. It was more so of, I would use my business as an excuse to stay away, to be by myself, to work late at night, to stay at my office that I had rented, to just kind of detach myself, because that's not the case when you are with someone you really want to be with.
Yeah.
You use your relationship to fuel you being able to spend time with them, to travel, to do all of these things. And I was using it in the opposite. So I think from his perspective, it was a lot of like, maybe some of this is because of the business, but for me, I used my business to pull away because I was already having those feelings even on our wedding day.
Right.
And it was really difficult. I think I'm the type of person who, whenever something is going wrong or, there's an issue, I want to try to fix it in my own head first.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it probably came very like out of the blue whenever I brought it up and I was like, I want to separate, because it was very like devastating to him. And that's really difficult when one person wants it and the other person doesn't. I think that is like such a hard spot to be in for both people. So yeah, it was really difficult. And we ended up kind of, we eventually ended up on good terms, but during the separation and during the divorce, we were not really on good terms. There was a lot of kind of like finance issues, like he kind of felt like, well, since you built your business while you were with me, I'm kind of entitled to some of that. And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah. I was going to ask if any of that came into play.
Yeah, it did. And I ended up, we had just bought a house. Like I had just put a $60,000 down payment on a house the month that we separated, because I was kind of like, well, maybe this will make it better, because we were staying with his parents at the time, because I was just crazy because of COVID. So I was kind of looking for a resolution in things other than myself and what I knew I needed to do. So I just put $60,000 down on a house. And, when we ended up separating, in total, he ended up kind of having like $100,000 of money that I had made from my business. And that was really difficult for me because I felt, I think that everyone's entitled to the money that they make, every single person. Yeah. So that was something really difficult for me at the time. And it caused, some turmoil and a lot of stress, but, it was just something I knew I had to do it. I knew that I had to not be in that relationship. And there were obviously, deeper differences than that and other things that came up, but when it's not right, you just know it isn't.
Dude, good for you. And like you were saying, like someone can be like so kind and wonderful and incredible. And like, I think when you go through separation, like I did, people want to be like, well, what did you guys do to each other? And I'm like, I promise you, it's not that dramatic. Like, I know you're looking for like juice, but like sometimes it's okay for it to just not be right. And like, if we weren't married, you wouldn't be questioning our breakup. Like you would just accept it. So like, it's just so interesting. Like you could, both people can be the best people ever, but that doesn't mean you're like right for each other forever. And that also means it wasn't a mistake because like, look what you guys accomplished together. And maybe you needed him for that season and you obviously learned so much. So that brings me to the question I'm really excited about. So sorry, we're asking personal questions away,
I love
but
it.
I'm so curious. So maybe I'm so curious for my own reasons. But
you're like, this is going to help me.
You got married again.
I did.
Pretty quick. And so I am curious, how did that happen?
Cami, in a similar situation.
No. She's like, kidding. We're not dropping any big life news on the podcast right now, but I've been open on this podcast recently that like I'm in a serious relationship. He moved here for me. So it's not casual. No. And sometimes people don't understand that from the outside, that they're like, how could you move on so quick? And it's like, well, people are in things for a long time that are over. So, and you learn things from your relationship. So when you find something after that, it's easier to recognize if it's right. Cause you're like, dude, I just spent all this time thinking about what wasn't right. So when something's right is presented in front of me, it's like, well, it's actually kind of the easiest thing ever to recognize. So anyways, I want to hear a little bit about that story, whatever you're comfy sharing.
Yeah. I think what you just said is like so true. And the thing is, one of my friends I was talking to when I was kind of in the middle of this separation, because it was a lot. I mean, I had moved my whole life to New Jersey. We just bought a house and I was very like, am I making the right decision? I mean, I think I probably sent like hundreds of voice notes to my two closest friends, but one of my friends told me at the time, with girls or with women, often they've usually broken up with that person in their mind far before that translates to the physical world, far before they actually tell them. So mentally, you're usually over that relationship long before you actually end it and actually separate.
That is probably why they say women move on so much faster. And I agree with that. I think it's because we acknowledge inside it's over a lot. Way before we do.
And I totally did that. I mean, I would say very shortly after we had gotten married, I was mentally preparing for, I know this isn't right for me. And I was trying to find reasons why I should stay, but you shouldn't be doing that, but so essentially, whenever I moved back here, my husband, now Jordan, we have known each other since I was like 18. Since I moved here, essentially, we have the same friend group, my best friends are best friends with him. And we have so many of the same friends. So we would always see each other and always hang out. So I knew him really deeply on that level. So it was not so much like I was just meeting someone randomly who I knew nothing about. And, like I hadn't gone through experiences to help me kind of know what I wanted. So we had known each other for so long. And I think that really helped us because I knew him as a person. And I knew him as a friend outside of a romantic relationship. So then when I ended up moving back here and eventually getting settled, it just kind of ended up happening. And I think that there was something, I think that for a long time, we both kind of, liked each other. There had been something there, but it just never kind of translated. I think neither of us were in the correct spots or were really like grown into who we should be as people to be able to come together. And it really just worked that once I ended up moving back here and was divorced, that happened. So it felt very natural. And, once that happens, I mean, you know how it is. It sounds very like surface level when you hear someone like, start dating and then get married in less than a year. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. Because some people are together for like 8 years and don't get married, or some people never, want to get married and they just want to be together or engaged or whatever. So it feels very crazy and like, just off the cuff, but it just felt very natural for us. Yeah. And we knew that we wanted to, like, we eventually ended up just knowing like, this is right. We want to be so we ended up getting eloped in November. We went so to fun. Florida. Yeah. We went to Florida of all places because it's like there's a lot of places where you have to like, there's these weird waiting periods to get eloped and stuff like that. So we went to this like chapel, or not even like a chapel. It was just like this, like, I don't know. I think it was called like Rainbow Chapel or something like that in Jacksonville. And this lady just like did it. We were like in front of they had these backdrops that were like, one was an ocean theme and one was a floral theme. And it was so Like, it was
what did
so
you guys
janky.
pick?
Oh, we did. I think we started at the ocean scene and then we switched over to the floral scene, but
Nice.
it was like
Had to
so
cover both.
janky. Oh my God. It was hilarious. And we
Was
were like, this
anyone
is so
there?
us. Yeah, his parents were there and my dad was there.
Cool.
But we just knew that we wanted to eventually maybe do like a party or something like that. But we were just like, we don't need a big thing right now. And it felt very us. Like it felt, because we're both very like lighthearted about things and don't, we're sentimental to a level, but we're also kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just very us to get eloped. So we did that, and I had, gotten the house a month before, so we moved in together, and it's been, we're March, so I don't know how many months that is. December, January, February, March, 4 months.
Nice.
Feels like a lot longer than that, but.
And do you feel like you've had a hard time, like friends and family, like accepting that you got like remarried again so soon, or are people generally like cool about it?
Yeah, I have, as far as my friend group goes, my friend group is so small here. And it's funny because they also kind of knew whenever I, was with my ex. I remember one of my friends specifically was like, I really feel like, and it's hard to say this to people, like,
oh, totally.
It's so hard because you can give your friends relationship advice, but at the end of the day, people have to live and learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember one of my friends, she was like, I really feel like you're rushing into this relationship to cover up other things you're not dealing with. And I was like, no, I'm not. I was. And, it's, I think that they kind of knew, and I did a good job at hiding those feelings.
You're talking about your past relationship, right?
My past relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did a good job of hiding those feelings when I was in New Jersey, because you know how it is. You don't want to talk. You don't want your friends to think badly of the person you're with, even if you're struggling.
Right.
But they just knew. So when I moved back here, it was very much so like I ended up staying with one of my friends for a while, and they were like, it makes sense. Like they were super supportive, and obviously they're really close friends with Jordan too. So this was like, yay, like two of our best friends are together. And then my family, I had kind of drifted away from my brother and sister-in-law whenever I was in New Jersey. So I drifted away from them a bit and some of my other family. And so then, whenever I moved back here, we kind of like rekindled our relationship, and they love Jordan. Like, whenever my sister-in-law met Jordan, she was like, I know that you're the one for Jessica. And it just
I love
made
that.
so much sense. And my dad really likes Jordan. But my dad is totally like the type of person that I could be like, I'm marrying a door, and he would be like, okay, sounds good.
Oh yeah.
He's so supportive.
So supportive.
That I do. He's supportive to a fault. He's just like, all right, you do you. I'm here with whatever you need.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
I've been thinking about how like, because I'm not in this situation, and it's like interesting to hear you both talking about it, and then be like, in the movies, and you're asking like, has everyone been supportive? In movies, shit like this happens all the time. And people are like, yeah, at the end, they're like, yay, they chose the right person.
Yeah.
And we're progressing with these movie characters, seeing everything that they're going through and dealing with, and why they're making the decisions they're making. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
But we're not living your movie, like the people on the outside aren't living your movie and seeing all of the in-between steps. They're just seeing you get married, get divorced, and then get married again. And they're like, what the hell?
Well, like if people were to be like, what, Nick already moved in with you? You just went public with him 2 days ago. I'm like, okay, but like, how long do you think we were dating that I just like didn't post about it? Cause I was nervous, and
dating
like
looks
that.
Different
like there's like things that you just like, you didn't see. So you like, don't know the whole story. So just like, trust me as an adult,
And
it's very, go ahead. Sorry. We're so polite.
I know we are.
You go,
Jess.
No, you hang up.
Is that what the relationship was like in the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah. No,
anyway.
you hang up first.
Oh my God. I know, right?
I'm letting you talk.
So cheesy. It's like, it's so funny too, because you feel like you shouldn't feel this way, but I think especially as like a woman, anytime you go through a divorce or a breakup, you feel almost like people are viewing you as this like harlot or something, as this like,
I can see
like
that.
she can't maintain a relationship. She can't, because I had a really like big relationship before this as well when I was 18. And it feels that way. Even if maybe people aren't thinking that, it very much so does feel that way. And that was something really difficult to reconcile in my head, because I was like, oh my God, I'm 24 and have gone through these like major relationships, gone through a divorce. And I feel like people are going to think, oh, well, what's she going to do to Jordan? Like, how's she going to burn him? And that's how it feels. And that's like very uncomfortable, because
I've had like the same insecurities and like the same, this is so fascinating. This is why I was excited to share this, because when I was going through my separation, I just thought I was like the only one in the whole world who was like I was like, God, am I the only one I know in my 20s who is like going through something like this, and what's wrong with me, and what's wrong? Why couldn't I just make this whatever? And then like the more conversations we have like this, I'm like, dude, we just like need to like normalize all of this. So I was excited for, I was like, I just hope she lets us get a little personal, and then we'll get back to business, because if I can do anything on here too, I want to like normalize some of these conversations, because I felt so alone.
I love that. And I've had so many people message me on Instagram too, like saying they were going through it at a really young age. And it's interesting, because it's so different than if you were in a long-term relationship. If you were with someone from like 16 to 22 and then broke up, it's like, okay. But then whenever you are married, and obviously marriage is a huge commitment, so that makes sense. But on a level, it's almost like you feel like you're tarnished in a way. And that is so difficult. And you feel difficult. Bad too. Yeah. And you feel bad too for your partner, because you're like, oh, did they think that they're like, second place to this person that I was married to before? And thankfully Jordan is not like that at all. And he is so like, he is so easygoing about that stuff, and about, my business too. Like, he's not the type to be, jealous of that or feel inadequate. He's like, yeah, go for it. Like,
dude, for real. Awesome. Yeah.
But it's difficult, because there's so many facets of your life that it spills over into, that it's really difficult to kind of, I guess, maintain your self-worth while going through something like that.
Oh my God.
Especially when you have a business and people are seeing it, which
Oh my God.
Such a personal business too. Like, your business is you.
Like, everyone knows everything about you. They knew all about my marriage. Like, I literally remember being like, will people still want me to shoot their weddings? Like, if I do this, like, I was like, am I even going to be like good enough for my couples? Which is crazy. They're just like my chance. They just love me, but there's like so much fear. I was like, dude, what are my friends going to think? Are they even going to like me anymore? You get so used to like being like a part of a duo that I'm like, man, am I even like worthy on my own? Like, I was like asking questions like, they're like, man, do I even like matter if it's just me? The answer is yes. And that's like the most empowering thing I learned, is that like, I'm not defined by that actually. And like, I am who I am regardless of that. Which is why I felt so confident going into like my next relationship. Cause I'm like, man, I learned I'm not defined by this. So like, if something happens, I'm going to be fine. That's why I feel okay going for this in this way right now. And like, what better energy to like go into like future relationships? Like, man, I don't need you, but my God, I like having you by my side, like that's so much better.
Yeah, it totally is. And it is, like you said, really difficult. People know so much about your relationship and can see everything, because you almost also feel like an obligation to tell them as things are happening. Like, you're like, I feel like I
to make an announcement or something. Like,
I got to write this caption. And it's just like, it's so interesting. And that is like a whole other, topic too, about like the entitlement too, that sometimes your audience feels to personal things that you're going through. And so I feel like I've kept, a lot of my relationship with Jordan more private, because it just feels nice. Like, it feels nice this time around to have something that's more like sacred in my personal life, and to not have to feel entitled to share everything, and to, constantly keep people in the loop, because he's also pretty private. He doesn't he has social media, but he doesn't really have social media. And so it's just kind of nice to like have that and have my business, and learn that it's okay to kind of keep things separate to a certain extent.
Totally. And the mystery is so hot. Like, I'm like,
people love it. They're like, who is that?
When I saw you post a little bit about him, I was like, I need more. Who is that?
I know I can't relate too much to this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait, who is this?
That's practically what Cammie did.
I was like, let's get her on the podcast so I can ask her everything.
Gabe's like, I post everything about everything.
Well, I can't. Well, it's funny because I can't obviously super relate to you guys because I am still married, and have
You're not
zero
tarnished.
plans. I'm not tarnished.
You're pure.
Yeah. Thank God. Well, so pretty much my mindset though lately has been like, especially now that I'm transitioning into like a different type of business, and I'm not doing weddings anymore. And before, it's interesting too, like our world, our creative world, so pushed sharing everything about your like personal details because it was like, well, you want clients to relate to you. And when they see everything about you, then they feel like they know you, which like, I understand like some parts of that, but then I'm also at this point now that I'm doing something new and my, whoever is following me now is going to be following me for very different reasons. It's like all of these people. So I'm like really focusing on TikTok right now. Right. So like all these new followers that I'm getting, they don't know much about my family. They don't know much about my relationship with my wife. Whereas this past community, they know everything. And it's nice to go forward in that way because it's like, well, yes, these are like some of the most important aspects of my life are my family, but they aren't necessary in order for me to have success in business.
Whoa.
And so I've been actually like making a point not to use them in any sort of way. And I hate saying use them, but like not like just showcase this life that I have on this pedestal because that's not the whole point. That's not the whole point of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, yes, I want to be successful to support my family and my kids and give them a good life. But like, I also just want to be successful because I enjoy it. And I love being an entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah. So. Well, and you see that too, like kind of translated into people. I mean, how many like couples are there on TikTok? Like I think of one.
Yes.
I can't even remember their names, but they were this couple and they both ended up breaking up and they.
I know the one you're talking about.
Stickler, Kelly Stickler.
There's her and then there's the two guys.
Her.
What were their names? Oh my God.
Chris and Ian.
Yes.
Oh, I love Chris and Ian.
I'm so out of touch.
Oh my God. But you know what? After that, they are thriving in their own way.
See, I love that.
Yeah. They are. And they're like still making videos together, even broken up. But it's like, what about the flip side of that when it's bad and you aren't amicable and you're like, oh my God, my whole livelihood was built on my relationship with this person or me vlogging my kids or whatever it is. And then it's like, what happens in the future? Like that can be really difficult because you're no longer relying on yourself. You're relying on other people, which is always difficult, whether it's a business partner or your actual partner or whatever it is. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, this is a good transition into us getting back.
Okay. Thank you so much for letting us go personal with you.
I got the juice.
Excited.
I
feel like I got my tea fixed. Now let's move on.
Tammy's like, now I can go get married.
Because if someone says I'm crazy, I'll be like, well, you think I'm crazy. Let me tell you about Jess Haas.
You're like comparing timelines.
I'm like, if we compare the timeline, I'm a little less crazy, but okay. I cannot believe I'm saying all this on the podcast. I feel so comfortable with you, Jess.
I love it. This is trauma bonding.
Dude, so true. Okay, let's move on because you had a fucking fascinating business journey. Like, I want to know what it was like when you were like blowing up on TikTok. Gabe has a lot of TikTok questions, so I'll let him kind of take the lead there too. But
I know about the journey as a VA and how you started doing that, and then very quickly just went into started.
But like, what was that like when you were like starting to post on TikTok every day? This is when I was your client and I saw it happening. And you were just like blowing up so fast. Like, what did that feel like?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, I remember so I posted that first TikTok that went viral. It was like, I filmed it in my office and it took me so long because I was new to TikTok and I was like, I don't understand this. And so it took me so long to post it. I posted it like in a couple hours. It had gotten like a couple hundred views and I was like, yep, that's about what I expected. And then I like went to bed that night. I woke up the next morning to all these follows on Instagram and I was like, that's weird. And so I went over to TikTok and I think by this point, my video was at like 5,000 views or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
It's happening.
And I was like, my dad was in town and we oh my gosh, my stutter. We went on a hike and I like was watching it and it was so fascinating to watch it. I'm sure you've like experienced that. It's like, no matter what level it is that your video or piece of content is growing, watching it in real time is so interesting. And
it's bizarre.
it is. And you're like, oh my God, this is really
It's
cool.
really creepy, honestly. You're like, you see the numbers go like every second and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
You're like, when am I going to get hate comments?
Yeah. Oh, look at there.
So we went on a hike and it was like getting to the point where it was at 11,000 views and it just kept growing. And I was like, and so people were starting to ask me like how I did this. And I was getting so many DMs about it. So what it really started to come down to in that moment was like, I had no plan. Like I had no plan of where to funnel these people. I have nothing created for them. So I had to really quickly act on this. And I was talking to my, my business partner, Erin, at the time, who I had gone through her program to learn how to be a service provider. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to like facilitate something that can help as many people that are reaching out to me. Because even if I teach them one-on-one, there's only so many people I can do that with. And she was like, well, you want to create a masterclass together? And I was like, yes. So we got that thing together so fast because it was like, you know how it is. Once you have a demand for something, you have to act quick or people forget. And so we ended up launching, I think I posted that first video at like the end of August. We ended up launching the masterclass. I think our first one was like September 7th. So it was very quick. And I thought it was so cool. Like I was so happy that people were interested in this because I know what it feels like to be like, I've dropped out of college. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know how I can possibly get to this point where I am doing something I want to do without having a college degree. And so I really like loved that there were so many people who felt the same way and that I could kind of be the bridge for them between that feeling and starting a business online. But you know, as it kind of started to blow up, you get the comments, the mean comments. I remember there was this one time after one of our master classes that this girl, you know, she just didn't really like the master class, which is totally fine. But she ended up making a TikTok about me that got like 1 million views. And I woke up to hundreds of comments, like people threatening me to hurt me, like people just leaving hate comments in general.
What was her video saying again? Like that you're just...
Yeah, she basically, I don't even remember what she fully said, but she basically was saying like that this stuff is Googleable, which that's a hard tangent because anything in life is Googleable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, do you want to put the time into Googling everything? And do you want to risk the potential of getting inaccurate information from people who haven't actually achieved what you want to achieve? It's just kind of understanding what the point in investing in things are. It's a shortcut for you from someone who's, you know, done what you want to do. So
absolutely.
But it's like, it's weird because you can't fight that. Like you can't get on there on your soapbox and make 10 videos about it because you lose either way. You lose if you do that because people say that you are kind of fumbling and just trying to grasp at things and explaining it too much, which means that you're doing something wrong. Right. And if you don't explain it enough, people say that you're scamming people. And it's just a very like, you just can't win. So, you know, I ended up just kind of making a video saying like, I'm really sorry you felt this way. Like we will refund you. And, you know, like, hope you find something that works out for you. So that was one of the really crazy things that happened. And then I had another crazy thing happen. I had made a video response to someone kind of saying, well, the only reason that you know, have found success online is because you're a girl. And I was like,
what does
that even
mean? God.
Yeah.
Did you send it to Drew?
Like, okay. No. I was just like, oh my God.
You should have.
I wish. I don't even think she had her like TikTok at this time.
No. Okay, you don't need to do it. I'll show you after this.
Oh my God, you will love her. She like just tears these people apart. Like comments, things like that is so funny. Yeah. But yeah, so I ended up like making a video response to this comment, and I was nice. It's not like I was doing it. I was not drewing him by any means. I should have, but I'm not that quick-witted.
Yeah, dude.
I was
She's
just
got
kind
it.
of like, yeah, she is amazing. But I was just like, all right, let's just unpack some of this and kind of, you know, talk through it. This guy ends up DMing me on Instagram, threatening me. he sends me all these voice notes and he's like, yeah, I know a lot of people in this industry. And if you don't take the video down, you're going to have a problem. And I was like, okay. I kind of was like fighting back with it at first and responding, because it's like, there's also another line with that where it's like, wow, you are like a psycho and gross and sexist and a million things on top of this, and you're threatening me. But how far do I push back to you before you potentially find my address? Like, I don't know if you're
that's scary
that because you actually like, I don't know if you're just saying that because you have a big ego and want to like show how big of a dick you have.
Which like normally it is that, but you don't want to take that chance.
Yeah. Right. Like this could be a psychopath.
Right. You never know.
You never know. And there's like I've seen so many times people have like, somebody's been on their live commenting their address and like all of these random things. You just never know. It's not that difficult to find someone if you want to find them.
No, it's not.
Especially like, if you own a house, like if you just Google it,
it's literally
Googleable.
Not hard. It's
right.
Not hard.
Everything's Googleable. But it was like, I just ended up privating it because I was like, I really don't care to deal with this. But I was so pissed off after that because I felt like I lost, like I felt like I lost that battle. And I was just like, wow, these people are crazy. Like there are some legitimately wild people on TikTok who just think that they can like be totally unhinged and that there's no repercussions for that. And then there's also the, blinds comment that we were talking about before we started going.
Well, tell us.
People just like picking apart your home.
Yeah, I posted a video one time and it was like you could see like a fourth of my blinds on the window behind me, and somebody was like, yeah, I don't think that you're really making money with blinds that look like that. And I was like, I didn't know that there were really like levels of blinds.
Wait, yours don't have a remote?
No, yeah, like that's really gross.
That's so gross. How cringy.
It's just like, oh my God, I just need to film in like a room where there's nothing. I'm like, you can't even see my clothes. It's just like a close up of my face. There's nothing on the walls to judge.
Wait, okay.
And people are like, wow, your eyebrows are really messed up.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
If you were really making that kind of money, your eyebrows would look better.
You would wax those freaking caterpillars.
But tell me, like, as a, when you were doing all this, and still, I'm sure you get hate like this all the time. Like, how do you like emotionally deal? Like, how do you like keep going forward? That is fucking crazy. Like these stories I keep hearing, and some of the shit you've gotten on your stuff, I'm like, I don't know if I'd survive it emotionally.
Were you bullied a lot like in the past, or is this like your big, like first real experience with major bullying?
Yeah, I wasn't, because I was homeschooled in middle and high school. So
hey, me too.
Really?
Look at the Cammie the minority over here.
I know. I went to a big high school, like a graduating class of 1,000. So it's like complete opposite.
Mine was 50.
Crazy.
Cammie's like, this makes so much sense as to why you two are the way you are.
It actually does. Yeah.
But it's like
driven.
I'm so used to bullying, and I'm so scared of the masses that I'm like, it's so scary for me to put myself out there because I know what happens.
Yeah, it's like a PTSD. Yeah, I didn't really experience it much when I was younger. I went to elementary school, which was like, I feel like I blacked out during all of that because I barely remember it. But I did middle and high school online. I didn't do middle school online. I was homeschooled, but I basically just taught myself because my mom didn't teach me anything.
Nice.
But high school I did online. And so I wasn't really like around that many people. And I didn't have many close friends at all until I was like 21. So I didn't really experience it that much. And, but while I say that, on the opposite side of that, growing up, like with my mom, she was very like verbally and emotionally abusive.
Got it.
So it was, I guess you could say I experienced it in that way, but it was very different than like my peers or, someone that was my age, or that was, I don't know. It just feels very different to me, but I do think that like made me develop a thick skin in a lot of ways. But, it's interesting. I actually just made a video about this. Whenever people comment hate, or whenever people get hate on TikTok, so commonly what we say is, oh, just block them. Like, just block them. And that's not normal. If my husband said to me, hey, you look really ugly today, I would be like, what the hell? Like, I wouldn't just be like,
love that.
that's not how you react to things normally. And I think that there are potential long-term downsides and like effects that this is going to have on people if we keep telling people to just block people.
Yes.
Because you can't block people in real life.
No, you can't. And like, it's great to do that online, but it also, when you do that, it's like, oh, well, if you give them attention, that's what they want. Maybe people need attention sometimes in a negative way where it's correcting them like Drew does. Like, you know what I mean? It's not okay to just ignore that. So my approach in the beginning was very much so block. And sometimes if someone is kind of getting to the point where they are arguing with followers that I have, or they're being rude to people in my community, I will block because I don't know how it could affect that other person.
Right.
But at this point, I've kind of gotten to the point where I will respond to them and just call them out in a video, or respond to them and call them out in a comment, because it's like, I feel like I was very much so before, like, okay, I have to act this way and make everybody like me and always keep the peace. And now I'm more so like, I'm getting more unhinged.
Yeah.
I'm turning into the unhinged person on TikTok. You guys see me like a year from now, and I'm just like responding to hate comments that I don't even have, just like on the loop. You're just gonna
before anyone says this.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Here's
before.
my response.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I just officially lost it.
Well,
but
I
think it's you can't tell people not to respond or care about that, but it's also just a matter of knowing who you are. And knowing my blinds don't define me.
My blinds don't define me. I love
this
it.
Translates into real life really well. Like how we're saying we can't really block people, but there is a major like trend around cutting out all of the toxic people in our lives and stuff like that, which like to it, obviously there's an extent where like
boundaries
you can only,
are good,
you have to create boundaries, but like where did confrontation go? I was
going to say we're creating like a generation of like completely conflict avoidant people.
Yes. Which is so funny because that is literally what our grandparents did that we have such a big problem with. And it's like, we're just doing it. We're doing it in such a different way. It's like, it's just like this pattern.
We're both just like,
yeah.
This is going to places I did not expect this to go.
Well, because I understand
world,
I understand to an extent, and like I have, very, very, very conservative family and that I love them all. And so like, not to say that I don't have some conservative values or anything like that, but it's just like, obviously it'd be easy for me to just be like, hey, like we had this problem. I'm not talking to you ever again. But like, how is that going to benefit them? And honestly, how is that going to benefit me? It's not going to benefit me at all. It's just going to make my life easier instead of like actually full of growth. Yeah.
Right. I totally agree with you. And it's difficult because we've kind of there's like so many facets of your life where if you disagree with this person about this specific thing, then that means they're a bad person. You can't, like be around them. And that's not the case at all. There are people in your family or in your life that you may want to have a relationship with, and you may disagree on things. It may be a really big thing in your life. It may be, religious values or just any type of value you have. But what is the cost for you of just cutting someone out if you don't agree with them? It's really heavy. And that makes me think about like my relationship with my mom. Like I said, it was really, really bad. It affected every single person in our family. And there are a lot of people in my family that refuse to have contact with her. And people often tell me, just cut her off. Don't talk to her. But I can't live with the guilt of that, even though I maybe should be able to. It's not something I can do. So it would be more harmful to me in the long run to completely cut her off because I would deal with the guilt of that so much. So it's a matter of finding the balance of how am I going to respond to this person? How am I going to respond when they try to rile me up? How am I going to kind of try to lead the conversation in different ways? And that is, like you said, way more full of growth because those are, communication traits and like personality traits that better you as well, like learning how to navigate that while not just saying, no, I'm never going to talk to you again.
Right. Oh man, look at us. We're all just like valuable. Like
Tammy's in shock right now.
No, because that was a lot. But also like, Man, I was just thinking so much about like the culture of like how toxic and polarizing like social media disagreements have become, and just like block them, unfriend them. And now we can't even be friends with that person who thinks so differently than us. And I don't know. I think the whole time I was listening to that, I was just like, oh, we're all fucked. Like, but
that is like so huge on social. There's a herd mentality that is unlike anything I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's bizarre.
So wild that people will flip quickly. It's very hard for people to have their own opinions, because if your opinion slightly deters from what the new opinion is, you better catch up or you're gonna freaking be like tossed out.
You'll be canceled.
And that's like such a deep conversation to dive into, but people are really afraid to talk about things like that, because I mean, now if you say one thing slightly wrong, you're done. And it's scary.
It is really scary. It's very scary.
We were literally talking about this before we started with like the diet community, and how like there's always this new diet that like it doesn't make sense. I literally just watched a video on TikTok of this guy saying that we needed to stop eating spinach and eat liver instead. And I was like, what the hell?
God, is he the one who eats raw liver?
Yes. Oh my God. I was like, since when did spinach become like this bad food for us?
Spinach is out. Haven't you heard?
Like, are you kidding me?
Oh my God. I saw a video of him. I also saw a video of this guy who just let chicken mold in his backyard for like 2 weeks and then ate it. And I was like, okay, that sounds like it's gonna be really good for my body for me to do that. Like, spinach, I don't think so.
Just eat your
chicken and liver. Yes.
Eat your fruits and vegetables, drink a lot of water, eat a balanced diet.
Oh my God.
That's it. Yes. Everyone stop making it harder than it is.
I think that people also are really trying to, like, I almost wonder sometimes if people are just like pranking us.
I know. I agree. Yes.
I think
way more often than we think.
Yeah, I think they're just like, what can we get them to eat?
Yes. There was this one guy on TikTok that for the longest time people did not know. I'm trying to. I know I follow him because at this point it's like well known that he's just this like made up character at this point. But I remember like the first video I saw of him, everyone was just like, "Oh, cringe, 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 cringe," and I'm like, I don't know. This seems a little
something's off.
Premeditated.
Well, like that. Have you seen the mom who's like, she's like the crunchy granola mom, and she like takes it to the extreme. And everyone's like,
is that a joke or is she real? Oh, okay.
Nobody, but she never said, like, her videos are so high quality
out of
and like
control.
She is such a good actress. If she's
so
acting,
serious
that people are like, I don't know if this is real or not.
God, this is a fascinating world. My favorite guy on TikTok that I've seen is, I forget his name, but he just makes up his own cocktail recipes and just like is like, how many will it take until I black out? And he and you just see him drink after drink after drink and then just like puke in his yard or like do weird things. And you're just like seeing him get drunker and drunker. And I'm just like watching that. I'm like, is that what I look like when I'm getting drunker and drunker? This is good to see. This is good for me to see.
Scary though, because one day he's just not gonna post and people are gonna be like
like what happened in that video, you know, like
alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, like someone send a medic to that guy's home.
Well, have you seen the guy that pretends that he's like stalking a girl? Have you seen these ones?
Is he pretending?
It's like so extreme that he like has like a little like room underneath her like bed or something, and it's like very obvious that it's fake, but you also watch it and you're like
don't give people ideas.
Oh my God. I know what you're talking about. And it's so weird because people used to do that on YouTube. I don't know if you remember, but people would like stage things as if they were like kidnapped or something on YouTube. And people would be like, is this actually happening or not?
Or maybe a little
what is happening
over the line?
TikTok's just turning into the dark web. Like
TikTok is turning into the dark web. Okay.
It so is.
Okay.
Like if you just listen to it, we're just like, yeah, that guy, he like pretends he's like stalking that girl under her bed. And we're just like, I know, right? Meanwhile, the FBI is like, okay.
Excuse me, what?
Hey, this is hilarious, but we need to move on because I haven't even gotten to my business questions for her. And this is going to be our longest episode ever. Go. Okay, before I move on to my questions, do you have any other TikTok questions?
The only thing I want to ask is, in your experience, is there any advice you would give people who are looking to grow an audience on TikTok?
Yes, I would say in the beginning, volume is your most important thing. And you're going to be I will say this.
As in quantity?
Quantity, yeah.
Okay.
And I will say, unless you are someone who is trying to make it with like in the film industry, or that's your craft, is really doing high quality, super edited, like amazing videos, throw the like editing and trying to make it perfect out the window. And I know that sounds really counterintuitive because we're so self-critical and we want to make sure it looks really cool, but TikTok does not care. I have seen people go from 0 to 2 million followers in 6 months, filming inside their bedroom, just posting videos of their day. And it's especially when you are, starting, no matter what business you're in, or no matter what you want to grow in, want your niche to be, you have to post the quantity so that you can see what people respond to. And because you can be kind of going in one direction and posting so many quality videos about this one thing that people don't really care that much about. So I think that that's so important. And I will also say that if you are a business owner who is not on TikTok, because you don't think that it's relevant to what you're doing now, like let's say you're a virtual assistant or social media manager, and you're like, well, I don't know, I don't really think that posting this is going to help me get clients that much. You have to think big picture, because a year and a half from now, you could be releasing a course, or you can maybe be starting an e-commerce business. If you put the effort into TikTok from day one, you are going to have an audience who is trustful of you and waiting to buy from you. So you really have to look like big picture with TikTok versus how can it help me right in this moment right now, because it can provide so many opportunities that you never even thought of for yourself.
Right. And how important are trends?
Trends are important, but I like trends because they help you creatively. Like trends are really helpful for pushing you and kind of giving you a guidance for content ideas, which can be really difficult on TikTok. And they do help your reach. I've also done trends that are a year old though, and the video's gone viral. So what's really more important is what you're talking about. And I also think it's really important to kind of think about shorter videos are always going to do better for the most part. And your first few seconds are so important. What I see a lot of people making the mistake of, and I'll kind of use like you, Cami, as an example. If you were making I'm like, what, you're making really big mistakes on. No, but if you,
I'm not even on there. So I have like 5 videos up. Yeah, I know. Oh, I know.
But like, for example, if you were making a video and you had a new course as a photographer and you wanted to teach people or like get more volume for your course, a big mistake that I see people make is using the I-based language. Maybe you say, I went from, dropping out of college to 6 figures a year as a photographer.
Say, here's how you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like such a small sales psychology thing, but with TikTok videos, it makes such a huge impact, because when someone lands on your video, they want to know what they're going to get out of it immediately. Yeah. And we are so impatient now because of TikTok that if you're just dragging it on, people are like, F this, I'm out of here. And just scroll.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's really important that they know what you're offering them immediately, even if you then go into a longer version of what you're talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Love it.
Do you feel like you have all your TikTok questions?
Yeah, that's all I need to know.
Okay.
Cammy's like, shut up about TikTok.
TikTok, I know I need to be on it. I know.
This is stressing her out in the back of her head. She's like, I'm not on TikTok.
My biggest hindrance with TikTok is just how long it takes to make videos, and the fact that I don't feel like I have the time to do it, and I don't feel like I have the money to hire someone. I probably do. I just feel like I outsource so much right now, and like another person to pay, I'm just like, I'm pretty overwhelmed by adding that. Like, oh my God, it takes all my time. It feels just to post on Instagram.
I know. And that's where the like stopping being so concerned about the like quality of it. And I don't mean like film it in a dark closet, but just the quick, inevitably the videos that you spend hours making flop, and the ones you spent 15 seconds making go viral.
Right.
And that's just kind of the nature of TikTok. People like the casualness. Like people love being able to feel like they are connecting with a human versus like this curated brand or curated business, because that's shoved in our face so much anyway with ads and, whatever. So
Yeah, curation. Yeah, it's like it's so interesting to like constantly be seeing these patterns of like what's working and what's not. Because like again, 5 years ago when I started doing photography full time, it was like curate your feed, make it look beautiful, have a scheduled post, like lay them all out so that every image looks good next to each other. I haven't used
one of those schedulers in years. Like I was doing it religiously for a while to make sure my feed looked.
Oh my God.
Perfect.
I tried using it and I was like,
so like, what am I posting today? Whatever I feel like.
It's like so much.
Yeah. Well, and people like that. It's like the Emma Chamberlain, for example, like she's like so raw and real, or like people that do like photo dumps, and it's like all these casual photos that are, it's like fake casual, because you know that it's like not actually like just I just snapped this picture, but it's positioned to look like it's casual because that's what people really like. It's like we're going back to Tumblr days.
Oh my God. It is feeling reminiscent of Tumblr. Like I like the photo dumps and stuff. Like I'm like, oh my God, I love that. Just here's all the random pictures I took from this last month of whatever. I do like that kind of shift in social media. That's really fun.
Yeah. But it is hard though, because that makes you almost like feel even more pressure to be casual enough.
Well, I know, like, oh, now am I being casual enough and now share even more of my personal life? You know, now it goes back to that. But I really want to know, like, how has your life changed like in the last 2 years? Because you're not keeping it secret, like how much money you've made from your business. And so like you're so young and you're making so much money. And like, I'm just so curious, like, how has your life changed? Do you like feel like you're doing like, I don't know what I would do if I came into your kind of money. Like, what would I even do? Just like, how has your life changed?
You know, it's so funny because it feels like, I feel like an asshole saying this, but it feels like monopoly money. Like once you start making more money within your business, you're like, I don't know, this doesn't even feel real unless you're the type of person who like gets the money and then you completely change your lifestyle. My lifestyle hasn't really changed that much. Like I still go thrifting. I don't have a huge house, you know, but I used to look at my bank account when I was working at my corporate job and like get nauseous. Like I would avoid it like the plague. I hated looking at my bank account. I was $20,000 in debt, and I was $20,000 in debt. I was trying to pay this debt off for like 5 years. Yeah. Within 6 months of starting my business, I was able to pay it off in full.
Incredible.
It's those types of things that are really crazy for me. And like I'm in a position now where I could help my dad buy a house if I wanted to, or I'm able to, you know, help my mom every month and send her money. And it's like, it's those things that are really impactful for me because I have always wanted to be able to do that. You know, I've always wanted to have the funds to help other people or help the people I care about instead of, you know, seeing them struggle and not being able to help with that. And then even, you know, on like a kind of more surface level, like being able to travel and not worry about it, or being able to, you know, pay for things in full. It's just so, it's so freeing when you know that you have that freedom. Like if you know that you are making enough and you're supporting yourself to the point where you don't have to stress about it as much. Yeah. What I will say is it is really difficult to figure out, like, what do I do with this? You know, because once you start making money, you kind of get into that position of, okay, how do I invest this? How do I do this? And those are things that we weren't really taught about. And so it gets very difficult because you don't really know what the smart, like there's this fear that comes along with it of, oh, am I going to crash and burn at any moment? Like I have to be really smart with this and, you know where to put it. And then another kind of layer of that is I have had many situations where, because I am so public about it, because I believe it's important to talk about finances, especially as women, I've had situations where people have tried to take advantage of me for that, have tried to charge me more because they know I make good money, or because or have tried to, like, I just recently, I felt like someone was totally screwing me over purely because I'm so open about those things. And that is like probably the worst feeling I have had within my business, because it's like, sometimes that feeling is like unbearable to me, because when you meet someone new, you're like, is this person does this person just want to be friends with me because of what I could give them? And I hate that. Like it feels so gross to me.
Well,
like
we've even felt that in our own businesses, like about being wedding photographers. Like I've had some, people be like, you make friends or like industry friends and you're like, dude, do you really want to be my friend or do you just want free photo? Like it's very hard. So like, I can't even imagine experiencing that on the kind of level you're describing. Cause I felt it in smaller ways since having my business.
It's really, and it just feels bad. Like it just feels bad as a person. It's almost like an indescribable feeling, to someone who doesn't maybe know what that feels like. It feels very icky, and it makes you have a hard time trusting people, like trusting their intentions, which sucks. But, I think it's so cool. And I love like seeing people, I've had people in my program who were like making $400 a month and, living in a different country than their family and were really struggling. And now we're supporting themselves, or are single moms and they're able to like stay at home with their kids.
I can't imagine how fulfilling that is.
I know, like it's so amazing to be able to see people like experiencing that. And I love it for them, because those were opportunities that weren't really there before. And so I think it's really cool that people now realize, like, I can do these things I want. I can be a mom, or I can travel the world, or I can do whatever, and also make really good money at the same time. And I love that people are talking about it more. And it still feels weird. Like even when I make videos about like how much I make or whatever, I still feel that feeling of like, oh, is this like weird? Are people going to think I'm bragging? But I think it's super important, because I always felt shame around it. When I was in debt and not making much, I was so embarrassed to talk about it.
Yep.
I tried to just pretend like it wasn't happening. And I would almost overcompensate for that by paying for things or, whatever. And I think that a lot of people feel that way and feel like they're in quicksand because they're afraid to talk about it and don't know how to get themselves out of that situation. So I love that so many people are being more open about it now.
Dude. Yeah. And I just love like your story is so cool because, you were a virtual assistant, but now like you have empowered so many people all over the world to like take control of their lives. Like that is like the story of your business, not like Jessica Hawks makes all this money. Jessica Hawks was a virtual assistant. Like you are fucking empowering people all over the world to like take control of their lives. And holy shit, that's so badass. And I hope you celebrate that all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. I have to like reposition it in my head sometimes, because
that's what it is. Like that's what I see what you're doing is. But how many students have you had over these last 2 years now?
We're probably at over 6,000 now.
That's insane.
I know.
You have taught over 6,000 people
it is
how
really wild
to take control of their life. It's incredible. And you're so right. The way you talk about it, that there's a huge market for what you're teaching. Like people, business owners need assistants. Gabe has like 4 different virtual assistants for different things.
Yeah.
Like
he just hires them he's like, we'll figure something out.
He's a whole
I need something, but I don't know what it is. So
he has like
a
whole crew of them.
I love, they're like, it's so nice. Cause once it's like almost addictive outsourcing. You're like, addictive. I could just be like,
maybe I just need a social media manager. Maybe I just need to bite the bullet and pay for one. But
my poor friends are like, what the hell do you even do
it's
anymore?
Crazy. But like when we found Rain, like I kind of believe our podcast wouldn't still be happening if I didn't find Rain when we did. Because like I found her in a moment, and you said you listened to her that episode, but like I found her in a moment where I was like, I'm going into complete survival mode. I cannot do this without help starting immediately. And I knew Gabe would be like, dude, let's find someone. Let's spend more money, baby.
Yeah. Well, it's so scary. Like it's so scary to outsource because you get that feeling of like, oh God, I can't afford it. Or what is this? What is this responsibility going to, like, how will it negatively impact me? And it's not exclusive to you. It's even service providers who start outsourcing, who are like constantly preaching about the importance of it. Even then they're like, I don't know, I don't want to do it.
I know. I couldn't even believe I said I couldn't afford it this episode. That's like language I never use, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel like, can I, should I, whatever. But okay.
Well, it's also like you feel the responsibility. Like I've kind of talked about this a lot more recently, but once you start like outsourcing and you realize like, oh, this person is partially relying on me to be able to pay their bills, that is a heavy weight to carry.
Totally.
So that's a big reason too, I think, like subconsciously, of why people kind of hesitate from it, because it's a lot of responsibility. They're taking away responsibility from you, but adding it mentally to you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point, I just consider myself like a master outsourcing at this point.
Yeah, you are.
You're like, yeah, if you feel that way, just come to me. I'll make you feel better.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I should just teach a course on how to outsource. Just like, just give it away.
You should, because people struggle with that. I've been waiting for someone to come up with a course for business owners about like how to outsource. It sounds so simple, but it's not.
We do episodes about it. And I mean, we've been able to do multiple because there's so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about.
But I want to really quickly go into like so your day-to-day job now is like your courses, right? Your master class. And is that like the bulk of what you're doing, is managing that?
We kind of took a pause on the masterclass because we kind of want to revamp it this year at some point. So I'm not doing the live masterclass as much. You can buy the replay of it, but we're not doing it live as often. So my main kind of business pursuit right now is Digital Creatives Academy, which is the 10-week course to teach people how to start their business. And it's evolved a lot over time. And we're actually in the process of like doing an overhaul on it now to kind of help me get a little bit of more time back, because I've started to venture into so many other things. So I have group calls for that. I'm in Slack a lot, helping the students. I do like Instagram reviews. And so it does take a lot of my time and energy in Digital Creatives Academy. But I also started Fluent University with my first student, Sydney, who did amazing. We started a business together. So we have a Pinterest course for people to learn how to be a Pinterest manager or just manage their own business.
Very good.
And we have like multiple courses planned for the rest of this year to launch. So I'll be working on those. And then I started the podcast as well. So now we're recording for season 3 of that. And then we have a really big project that we're working on. I don't know if I should say it, but it's kind of clothing related. We're working on that for the like end of this year. We're already starting like development for that. So that's also been taking up a lot of time. So it's a lot of communication and the creative, like creating aspect of things is what's more so happening for me now, because I have Kaylin, who was my OBM.
I was just about to ask how many employees you have, like how many people in your team.
Mm-hmm. So I have Kaylin, she's my OBM, and she literally is like a clone of me. And then what's an
OBM?
Online business manager. Okay. Yeah. So she's like working higher level in my business, kind of delegating to all the other team members, communicating, making sure everything happens essentially. And then we have Courtney, who's my social media manager for my Instagram and the podcast Instagram. And then we have Kiara, who is my virtual assistant, who works a lot with Kaylin. And then I have 3 co-coaches in DCA. So I have Sydney, Carolina, and Addison. Carolina is also my Pinterest manager. And then Sydney also co-owns Fluent University with me. So those are really like my team. And then I have a CFO. Her name is Dondria, who's awesome. So I work with her. And then we just kind of started dabbling in ads this year as well. I don't know that, ads are always tricky. I had never ran an ad until this year, but we just started working with Ellie. You probably know Ellie McMacken.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we just started working with her, but it's ads. Like I said, they're tricky. I'm sure it's always an up and down thing. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's a lot of people, but it's going.
I can't believe everything that's happened for you in less than 2 years. That is insane. And I guess the question I'll end with.
Wait, I have questions too, though.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you ask your questions. I've had to pee so bad for like an hour.
Go for it.
Okay, so you ask, you answer. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
This is like an interactive podcast.
I know this is like real. This is real life. Where I'm like, this is I think our longest episode. I have to pee right now. Okay, go.
Okay, so
Tammy just takes the mic with her to the bathroom.
That would be interesting. Okay, so how do you feel having this big team? Okay, right. So because I'm similar to you, where like I have a few different people doing different things, and I own now 3 businesses. So like, and the wedding one is going out the window this year, but like I own a studio, and then I have a clothing thing coming on as well. And so like I have a studio manager that runs the whole studio for me. I almost do nothing there. And a lot of people are always like, Gabe, like there's so much going on and so many people that like, because I used to be a store manager at Starbucks too. And I had 30 employees, but it was very different there because it was like, even though they were my employees, they were really Starbucks employees. They weren't mine. So there was I wasn't handling everything and the weight wasn't really on my shoulders. It was on Starbucks. And so that was very different. So how do you feel having this team, having this workload with like, I don't know what your like workload goals are for every week, but for me, I've got a family and like, as much as I do love working, don't get me wrong, like I have priorities there too. So what does it feel like to be in your shoes for people who want to head in this direction and have a bigger team? How are you feeling stress wise and then just time wise?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that especially if you're like that type of person who's like, I have a really strong work ethic, I always want to work really hard, and that's kind of like ingrained in you, it's really difficult to take a step back like once you have a team. But I'm kind of the same. Like I bought a house and I got married and now I have 2 dogs and I want to have kids soon. Like those are all things that I care about and I want to prioritize. So I've kind of recently, I feel like, learned the importance of taking that step back and being like, okay, it's all right if I'm not constantly working like 12 hours a day. Right. And, at this point, I have gotten to the point where I can take a week off and I, even when I go travel, I still like respond and talk to my team and, talk to my students and things like that. But I really try not to have a ton of commitments every week where I'm like, okay, I have to do these things. Like I have podcast episodes and calls that I need to be on, but I try to keep my schedule as flexible as possible, because that's the whole reason I started my business. And you kind of can get in this trap of starting a business to get more time for yourself. And then you do that. And then you find yourself working more in your business than you did in the corporate world.
Right.
So that's something we talk about a lot, where it's like, we did this to have more freedom, and less freedom we have. Yeah. Until you make some really specific intentional choices to get out of that cycle. But usually in the early years of business, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many people fall into that trap of like feeling like they have to work so hard to be successful, and you don't. And I think that we've kind of seen that shift with the online space. It's really started to cultivate this kind of like, I guess, mindset of, oh, I can work less. And that doesn't mean that I'm not a hard worker. It just means maybe I'm working smarter within my business. So I've really tried to prioritize that. And I got really burnt out at the end of 2021 because I was just working so much. And, this year we have a lot of stuff planned, but we're really going to try to take off the month of December, because it's like, you pile it on and then you don't even realize it, how much you've got going on. But I love being able to take a step back, and I love that I've built that for myself. And that's what I want in the future. Like, I don't want to have to work full time whenever I am, whenever I have kids or whatever it is. So.
Right.
Okay. So I think my last question for you is just kind of like where you're headed and the direction of your business. Like, we always end our episodes with basically just asking, like, what are you excited about? What do you have working on? Yeah. So that's like part 1. And then part 2 is like, what is like the future of your business? Like, where do you see this going long-term? If you've thought that far ahead, Gabe's answer to that is, I don't think that far ahead. I just take my business a year at a time, because you never know what will happen. So that's an okay answer too. But I'm just, lay it on us. What are you working on? What are you excited about? Where is this headed?
Yeah. So right now we are working on, like I said, the kind of project we have happening at the end of this year. We have our first team retreat happening in July, which I'm super excited about. We're going to be in Yucca Valley, California, wherever that is. Cool. Yep. So I'm excited. Wherever that is. That's going to be my first time in California, which I'm excited about.
What?
Oh my God.
I know.
Wow.
It's
okay.
Weird, but I'm really excited about that. And we are kind of I feel like this season of my business has been a lot about like refining what's happening. Like, while we're still growing, just kind of trying to make sure that, because I feel like with growth can a lot of times come sacrifice of quality. And so we're trying to really make sure that within like Digital Creatives Academy and all of these other courses that we're launching, that they're done really well and kind of refined to the best like version of themselves that they can be before we scale too much. So that's what we've been working on a lot right now. Like, I've been bringing in I have someone now coming in to like do an audit on my course and just kind of see how we can improve and things like that. So that's what I've really been mostly like investing in right now, which I like a lot because I think it's going to set things up well for the future. Because obviously, like, I kind of mentioned, I would like to have like kids eventually. And, I have a lot going on. So I don't want to always have to be totally involved in my business. And so I think, kind of working towards that and maybe to the point where I can have more streams of like passive income. I've also thought a lot about, getting into real estate and investing and stuff like that. I don't have the mental capacity to do it right now, but my 10-week-old puppy is like away from the nap. And I'm like, I know that a bathroom situation is going to happen if I don't contain him. But, I don't really have the mental capacity to like think about investing in real estate right now, but that's something I wanted to in the future. And I think I am very like similar to Gabe in the sense that I really stress myself out when I try to think like, okay, what am I going to be doing in 5 years? What am I going to be doing in 10 years? So I really just try to like take it year by year. And like we've kind of talked about during this episode, things can change massively within a year. So I almost feel like it's really difficult to plan a year into the future in online businesses because it's just like you have no idea what's going to get thrown at you.
Yeah.
So, I think that I'm like I said, very similar to Gabe in that sense. It's really hard to say where it's headed because I don't know, but I would love to open other businesses where I'm not necessarily the face of it. It's difficult for me because it sounds ironic, but I really don't like being on social media that much. Before I started my business, I rarely ever posted, was not like I didn't have a presence on social media really. So that's been kind of a big adjustment for me. And I would love to get to the point where I did have other businesses that I wasn't the face of so that I could be more optional as far as how I show up in my own business.
Totally.
So kind of where I'm at.
Cool.
Love it. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. I think it's so cool. Like that you're at a point where you're like, hey, like I don't have to just keep like rolling out the next thing constantly. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs' mindset is like, oh, well, like once we've done one thing and it's been successful, that means we just move on to the next. And I know I'm prone to that mindset too, which is why my whole goal, like personal goal for this entire year, when it comes to like resolutions and stuff like that has been rest. And so just like an overarching theme for my year is rest. And so it's been so interesting to see like how my brain kind of like battles with that idea because like I'm doing really well at accomplishing that goal, which feels so bizarre to me because I'm just like, all I want is to move on to the next thing and like nail it hardcore. But it's just, when you said like, it's hard for you to describe what you do, that's where I'm at right now because people keep asking, Gabe, what the hell do you do for a living? I'm like,
I don't know.
I'm playing a lot of Pokemon right now.
You and your Pokemon.
I know I brought it up too many times.
Whenever you start like doing exactly that, like resting in your business or prioritizing, like I've kind of been doing similar. And like every week I try to prioritize, like schedule things like a massage or acupuncture or something before I schedule a ton of other work things in.
Good for you.
And it's almost like when you like first start going to therapy or like when you have to have a really like difficult conversation with your partner and you just have to like sit in the uncomfortableness of it. That's almost what it's like when you start doing that and resting and like finding that balance. It feels so unnatural if you are used to like just grinding it out and going. But there's always those seasons of your business. Like there's seasons when you really are more, present, or you're showing up more, or you're building, or you're creating. And then there are seasons where you have to rest and you have to be behind the scenes. And so I think that's something that takes a while to learn, and it's always a work in progress, but it's for the long run, I think that's such a valuable thing to learn, especially if we're like going to instill this in, other people or like future generations. You can't just be all talk and no implementation.
Yeah. Especially you, because you have like a forward facing business where it's like you're saying, hey, if you do this, you get this. So you got to reflect those values that you're preaching, which can make it even more difficult, but also more accountable. It helps you stay accountable to those things. So
it's hard to practice what you preach.
It is. Well, do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, this was so good. I mean,
Tammy's like emotionally exhausted right now.
I'm just like, that was like the best episode ever. And I can't believe how much we talked about. And I'm just like, holy shit. I feel like there are things we even like barely scratched the surface on too. There's so much we wanted to talk to you about that I was like, we'll just talk about this for a few minutes and then this for a few minutes and this for a few minutes. I'm like, dude, this could have been like a 5-part episode.
Yeah, we should do a part 2 because I feel like there were so many tangents we could have deep dived into.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that was our invitation, and we will take it.
I just wrote an invitation, so I'll make a list of all the side episodes we need to have that came from this.
Yes, love it.
But
thank you for dumping all that info.
Much. You're
so fun.
You're like so successful and impressive that I was like almost embarrassed to even ask you to do this. I was she's gonna be too busy.
Sammy.
No, I'm since I started my podcast, I'm always on like the interviewer end, and I'm like, I want to be on the other end sometimes. So when
dude,
I was like, yes.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, we'll do this again because there's so much to talk with you about. I feel like we should do like a whole episode on like TikTok strategy, a whole episode on like how the mental health of this whole generation coming out of like TikTok generate. Oh my God, there's so
that
much.
one would be so good.
There's a lot.
Really
how we're all turning
we should try to like find the craziest TikTok accounts that we can and then do an interactive episode. Oh,
I know. I love how like
we're gonna turn into Cody Co.
A solid section of this episode was us just like, wait, do you know this account? Wait, do you know this account?
Everybody listening is just like, what side of TikTok are they on?
Yeah, what are they talking about? Well, anyways, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy and successful schedule to talk to us. We can't wait to do this again with you. We both have puppies on our lap right now. So I think the puppies are telling us that it's time to stop recording. But thank you so much. And we hope everyone loved this episode and we can't wait to talk to you again.
Yes.
Of course. Thanks for having me here.
Yes,
we'll be back at it.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Will. Tune in next week, but
don't hang
I'll be
up.
here. I force myself into every single episode now.
We would love it.
That's
all right,
so
bye
funny.
for real,
okay,
everyone.
Bye, but not you.
Bye, but not you.